Hey, Trailblazers, this is Jason, your host of the Trailblazing Texas podcast. Before we jump into our latest episode, I've got some incredible news for you. Are you gearing up for your next big hike or backpacking trip? Well, we at Trailblazing Texas podcast have partnered up with Trekker Joe's, the ultimate Texas outfitter, to bring you something I feel absolutely special. Listeners, you of the Trailblazing Texas podcast can now get a one-time 15% off their gear purchases at Trekker Joe's. That's right. Whether you're a first-time customer at Trekker Joe's or a repeat customer like me, you can save big and hit the trails well prepared. So upon checkout, use code TTP15 to claim your 15% discount and in the process support an amazing local Texas business. So happy trails, and don't forget to tell your hiking buddies. Now on with the episode. Welcome to the Trailblazing Texas podcast, where we embark on a journey through our diverse Texas landscapes and breathtaking trails while always engaging with our amazing Texas hiking community. So settle in, tighten up those bootlaces, and get ready for the thrilling tales awaiting for you on this episode. Welcome to the Trailblazing Texas podcast. I'm your host, Jason. This morning, I woke up and I had to pinch myself. I was hoping it wasn't a dream. Our next guest, it is a true honor to have this legend on the podcast. Coming to us all the way from California, we have the Hiking Rev. Rev, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jason. Glad to be on board.
I cannot believe this is taking place. That little fuzziness in your stomach when you stand up in front of people or you're excited about something. I've been on cloud nine all week, and it's Friday, so it's been a little bit of tough for my wife to be around me because that's all I've been talking about is this episode. So again, I've said it a lot. I can't thank you enough for taking the time out. This truly means a lot to me, and I'm so excited. And it's funny because I think I messaged you almost, when I first started the podcast.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good while ago, and I've just been busy doing things like that. But I definitely wanted to make it a point to be on the podcast.
Yeah. Well, I remember first off, I stumbled across your content. I'm not a huge YouTube person, but I was on YouTube and I saw your video, I guess about 3 years ago, and it was tips for older hikers and backpackers. And so I was like, wait a minute, I'm 49, so I'm 52 now. So I'm 49. This video is for me. And started watching it, and I didn't stop. So, you watch a video, you like it or make a comment, the next video comes up, like it. And so I was telling my wife, hey, check this out. And all the content. So she goes, don't tell me you're going through all the videos and watching them and liking them. And I'm like, well, yeah. She goes, he's going to think you're a stalker. and so then I told her, I'm like, I'm thinking about asking him to come on the podcast. And she just started laughing. She goes, yeah, he's going to think you're a scammer or something. And so, yeah. And here we are today. So to Lori, my wife,
Tell her I said hi.
I'll definitely do it. She just came. She's a school teacher, so they have one of those where the kids aren't in school. So she just came home for lunch, and I think she headed back. But I'll definitely let her know. So I want to kind of break this podcast up to getting to know a little bit about you, because that to me is really important. Then I'd like to touch on what does it mean to hike in California? And so what I mean by that is, especially Colorado and New Mexico, sometimes I go to these places and I see more Texas license plates than I do the locals.
Yeah.
And I know when I'm in Colorado or Washington State or New Mexico, sometimes I get overwhelmed with what it means to hike there, day passes and, all these kinds of things. So I'd like to kind of just touch at a very high level on kind of what it means and how is the hiking in California, and then touch on some of your amazing adventures hiking the PCT, the AT, and then really kind of wrapping up with what's next. And I know we were talking about right before the podcast, that final part, that wrapping up and kind of what's next. I got emotional. That's probably the third podcast that I've ever either been in or was, preparing questions for. I started crying and just putting myself into some of these questions. And I can relate it to me getting older. I can relate it to every time I go to the Guadalupe Mountains and I'm leaving, is this going to be the last time? Yeah. So if that's all right with you, that's kind of how we'll break it up. And Rev, I'm sorry to drop this on you, but over the last 2 or 3 months, every episode we have a lightning round. The listeners love it. These are questions that you have not seen. These are
Okay.
surprise questions and just short, quick first words that pop to your head. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
And don't worry if it's not very lightningy. Through the magic of edit, we're going to be flying through these questions.
All right. I'm ready.
Trail runners or boots?
Trail runners.
Most overrated piece of gear?
Overrated. Oh man. Not very lightning man, overrated. Overrated. Oh, camp chair.
Oh, yeah, camp chair. I love it. What is one piece of gear that you bring but never use?
Oh, oh man. Man, I use everything.
For me, it's a camp chair. I
Yeah.
always bring it and I'm too tired to use it.
I never bring a camp chair and camp shoes. I never bring camp shoes. Uh, so so I don't bring them.
All right, so you got it down to where, it's your pack is perfect because you use everything. So that could be an answer.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
Favorite backpacking brand?
Oh, between Hyperlight and Z Packs, probably
All right. Hammock or tent camping?
10. I've never hammock.
I don't think you're missing too much. I didn't say that though. Favorite trail meal?
Oh, a Cliff Bar.
All right. Camp stove or cold soak?
Oh, I have just gotten back into stove. I cold soaked for a little while on the PCT, and then at the very end, I just did no cook. Not even cold soaking, just bringing stuff just to eat. Like beef sticks, cheese sticks, and stuff like that. But I have just recently gone back to a stove.
Okay. One thing you'd never hike without?
Backpack.
All right.
Uh,
Yes or no? Do you actually read gear instructions?
I'm a man. We don't read instructions. No, I don't read any instructions.
Most embarrassing gear fail?
Just recently, I tried out the new Nemo Elite, the small one, the sleeping pad, and it only weighs like 7 ounces. I mean, it is just unbelievable. But I just got back from a 5 day trip on the PCT, and so I was trying this pad out, and I'm not kidding you, Jason. It was the slipperiest thing that I've ever slept on in all my life. All night long, I was just slipping and sliding on it. So, to make a long story short, I got rid of it real quick. So that was the biggest gear fail.
Nice. I know the answer to this one because I've been watching your content for about 3 years. Are you a early bird or are you heading out at noon?
Early bird. Yeah, I like to. I my schedule is I like to get to bed, in the tent. 8 or at the latest 9 o'clock. And usually I'll get up at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning and try to get out before the sun comes up. Because I'm telling you, there is nothing better than being on the trail and watching the sun come up as you're hiking. Nothing better.
So then that answers the next question. Favorite time of day, sunrise or sunset?
Uh, Sunrise. I like both, but sunrise.
All right. Do you follow leave no trace principles religiously or mostly?
Religiously.
All right.
In fact, I try to pick up other people's trash before I leave. My philosophy is that when I leave a campsite, I want to make it so that people will look and say, "Has anybody ever even camped here?"
Absolutely. You should see the amount of trash I pick up on the Lone Star hiking trail. Sometimes I have to drop my Outback seats because it's too much for the hatchback part. So
It's ridiculous, but you know, again, I think a lot of it comes from day hikers. A lot of time through hikers get a lot of blame for it, but I think a lot of these weekend warriors and stuff like that, they don't know any better, and so they leave trash and stuff like that. But I can't stand it when I go out into the wilderness and you see trash. It's just ridiculous.
and especially like in the fire rings, people just throw trash in there thinking that, oh yeah, somebody will burn it.
Crazy.
Yeah. The longest you've ever gone without taking a shower on a hike.
10 days. 10 days I was on the PCT, and it was in 2020. And so a lot of things were closed. And I went to a park, and they were supposed to have a shower. Well, the shower was closed, and so I had to go, like 5 more days. And so I was out for 5 days. I went to this place. I thought I was going to take a shower, and they were closed, and they didn't allow people to take a shower. And so I had to go 5 more days. My grandkids just laugh when I tell them that. Grandpa, you went 10 days. I bet you reeked. Yeah.
Yep.
When you can't stand your own stink, you stink. You know.
That's bad. Yes. I've been there before. I think mine was 6 days.
Yeah. 10 days.
Yep. All right. Most irrational trail fear.
Irrational trail fear.
Mine
Uh,
are running into hogs.
oh, really? Really and truly, I'm not really afraid of animals as such. I have found that animals are more afraid of you than you are of them. And I think that's irrational fear that a lot of people have. But I guess I fear falling off of a mountain, falling off of a cliff, getting too close to the edge, which I did on this last trip that I took a couple of weeks ago. Uh, yeah, and if I know this is lightning, okay, but this was so funny. On the PCT, at the very end, I met a couple of guys, and we hiked to the terminus together. And so I really got close to them. They're about as old enough to be my sons. But we hiked together, and this guy, his trail name was Bird, Larry Rapari, and he was in front of me, and he was about 6'2", big tall guy, and plus he had his pad on top of his backpack, and so it was really really tall. Well, we were hiking in the middle of the night, and I was, of course, you got your face down, looking at the trail and everything, and I was right behind him. And then all of a sudden, Larry stopped and he started backing up. And when he did, he knocked me off the cliff, and I was hanging on.
Oh,
Yeah, I was hanging on. Well, what had happened is his backpack got caught on the limb that was hanging over the trail, and so it kind of just jerked him back, and I was right there, and so it knocked me off. But yeah, I was hanging off the cliff, and so they had to pull me out. So yeah, that was pretty. Pretty scary, yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's a couple of sections in the Guadalupe Mountains that are, it's probably 12 inches or so that you're walking on this ledge, and it's 300 or 400 feet drop. And
Yeah,
I'm okay, except for when it's at night and I have the red light on. For
yeah,
some reason, it's almost like a panic, and then I have to turn the white light on, and then I'm
yeah,
like, oh, okay, I'm okay.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
All right, yes or no? Have you ever cried on trail?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. If you look at my YouTube channel in my videos on the PCT, the very last one going to the terminus. In fact, I probably tear up even now. But you know, being out on the trail for almost 6 months, being away from your family, being away from anything that's familiar to you, when I got to the trail, I mean, just all those emotions just overwhelmed me. And I wept like a baby and I didn't care. I didn't care. So, yes.
There is not a time that I'm not in the quads that I'm not crying, because that place means so much to me, or because it broke me, or because it stabbed me with all the little prickly things on the trail. So there's a definitely a lot of emotion, and yeah, you're absolutely right. It's
Yeah.
there's the accomplishments that we have, or the places that we go to, that it's undescribable. All right, which is sneakier, raccoons or squirrels?
Well, I don't know. Again, this last trip that I was on, I had something. I don't know what it was, squirrel, raccoon, rat, whatever, but chewed through my socks. I had some socks, darn tough socks that I had wore, hiking and everything. Well, I was in my tent, and so I took them out and I put them a little bit outside of my tent to let them dry. And I should have hung them up, but I didn't. But I woke up the next morning and they were all chewed up.
Ay, ay, ay.
On the PCT, I had a hat that I, again, put on the ground, put outside the tent and everything. And I mean, again, I don't know what it was. It was a rat, raccoon, whatever. But I mean, it chewed my hat completely up. So,
Let me tell you, I have a Marion Outdoors hat, and it's the absolute best hiking and backpacking hat ever. And if some animal chewed that sucker up, I would stay an extra night and I'd catch it. All right. Are you a down or synthetic?
down,
Best multi-use item, duct tape or paracord?
duct tape.
All right. Most surprising wildlife encounter.
Uh, surprising?
Mm-hmm.
A bear. Again, I was on the PCT, and believe it or not, I was in the desert section of the PCT, which you don't normally see bears there. But I was hiking along a ridge, and all of a sudden I heard this snap, and I mean it was just a loud. I mean, not just like a twig, snapping, but it was like a tree limb snapping. And so, whoa! And so I looked down, and this bear, I mean, he was about like 20 yards away from me, but he was just booking it out of there as quickly as he could. And his rear end, I mean, was big. So I didn't see
Oh.
the front of him. All I saw was the back of him. But he was a big bear. And I knew that there was bears in this particular area that I was in because I was reading comments on the Far Out app, and they said that there was a problem bear there because there was a garbage can, and a lot of hikers went through and they put all their trash in there and they didn't close it all the way. And so they said this bear just kind of hangs around there. So I knew that there were a bear in the area. But anyway, when I was walking down the trail, this bear, again, he saw me before I saw him. And so as soon as he saw me, man, he just booked it out of there. So I guess that was the most surprising.
All
I
right.
saw a couple of rattlesnakes when I was on the PCT, and one of them was really scary. It wasn't scary, but it was really weird. I was going down the trail, and I saw this squirrel kind of mosey across the trail. And usually, when a squirrel sees you, they're real skittish, and man, they're going to scoot out of there as quick as they can. But this squirrel just kind of moseyed out, and he kind of looked at me like, "What are you looking at?" You know? Like he was drunk or something, you know.
Yeah.
And so he just kept going across real slow. I thought, "Whoa!" I said, "That's weird," you know. And so I walked up to the place where he crossed the trail, and as soon as I got there, I heard this,
Oh.
the rattling. And so I put two and two together. I guess that rattlesnake had bit the squirrel, and the squirrel, I guess, was being
Oh.
overcome with the venom and stuff like that. And so, but again, the rattlesnake, when he saw me, he started backing up. Just like the bear, he scooted out of there. And so, I found that animals are more afraid of you than you are of them.
Absolutely. And so my hiking season in Texas kicks off is usually the first weekend of September, but we're selling the house, so I had a delay. And
Mm,
I bat 1,000 running into copperheads, water moccasins, or coral snakes from now until probably, golly, probably depending on how cold it gets in December, but probably
mm,
till December. And
yeah.
then, then they go dormant and then it kicks off again probably first part of March and into May. But yeah, the Lone Star Hiking Trail, at Sam Houston National Forest, there are snakes and they don't warn you. The only reason why they're there is because they're, running from you and you're like, oh my God,
Mm,
I almost stepped on a copperhead. I better pay attention.
right, right.
All right, I'm not going to start any controversy. So answer however you want to answer, and then we'll just leave it at that. Best for hydration, water bottles or hydration bladders?
Water bottles.
Oh, yes.
Long time ago, you always kind of start off with like a bladder and everything like that, and I just found them to be kind of you put them in the pack, and so they're hidden back there, and then plus you don't know how much more water's in there, how much more water
Yes.
you have, and then plus they're a pain to clean out. I mean, they're just so bothersome. Yeah, it's so much easier to grab a water bottle out of side and drink it down and put it back in there.
Yeah, and also, guess what? There is almost 100% guarantee I'm not going to puncture all my water bottles at once,
Yeah, exactly.
or they're going to leak at once. And then if I'm hiking with you, let's say I'm the more experienced hiker and you have a water bladder, sometimes like new hikers and backpackers think it's like a water fairyland where it just never gets empty and they're just sucking on that hose,
Yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
realizing, or even if we're, let's say, the same experience, when I'm backpacking with my group, I want to see how much water you have. I want to see how regular you're drinking because I'm always regulating what I'm taking in based on what everybody else is doing. Because if I see someone struggling, because we all struggle, then I won't consume as much because okay, let me save some water for this person because they're really struggling. So, and I haven't been in a lot of deadly situations hiking or backpacking, but the times that I have, it's because someone was using a hydration bladder
Mm,
and we're in the middle of this Texas heat where 90, 100 degrees and we're trying to get back to the car. And so,
yeah,
yeah, so it's funny. This is a new question to the lightning round and everybody so far has said water bottles. So
yeah.
that's awesome.
I've got a friend of mine. Again, I watched him on YouTube, and then I met him later, and we got to be good friends. And plus, I correspond with him a lot. But his trail name is Fish Tank, and the way he got his trail name was he was on the PCT, he was hiking the PCT, and he had a water bladder, and the water bladder burst and or leaked or whatever, and his whole backpack filled up with water. And so he's going down the trail and is sloshing back and forth in his backpack. And so somebody said, "Man, you look like you got a fish tank back in the back." So that's how he got his trail name. So
My trail name is 5 liter, and it's because in the Guads, whether we do a 3-day backpacking trip or an overnight, I always carry 5 liters. And
oh my goodness.
my stupidity is that I get 8 ounces here, 4 ounces here, 6 ounces, and I'm usually with people. And one of my really good friends and a hiking partner, Henning, over this last trip, I was carrying just the bare minimum of water, being stupid. So we get out to Bush Mountain Campsite. So this is, I think it was the last night, so the third night, and I had ran out of water because I got confused and I drank a liter that I shouldn't have. And so we're in the middle, we're probably about halfway to the campsite. And I'm like, Henning, I ran out of water. And he's a Marine, so he's carrying like 20 liters and he's doing it the right way. And he starts laughing. He goes, and I'm like, well, can I borrow some water? You have tons. And he's like, yeah, maybe. So he laughs and goes, no, I'll give you some water. So we get to the campsite. I'm dying. And he just, he's setting up his tent nonchalantly. He's cooking his meal. And I'm just watching him. And I'm like, hey, you don't have to be a jerk. Can I have that water now? And he's like, yeah, yeah, sure. And he goes, I'm only going to give you this water if you admit that was a mistake. And because I told you before we left, you should carry more water. So it's 5 liters because I just was always carrying 5 liters.
Yeah, water is the heaviest thing besides food in your backpack, and so I do the same thing. I don't want to carry any more than I have to, and so a lot of times I do stupid things and don't carry enough water. But this one time when I was in the Mojave Desert on the PCT, uh, I I did something stupid. I went to the water source and I just started, drinking, and so I left there and I camped that night and I only had about this much. I mean,
Oh,
just about this much left in the bottom of my smart water bottle. And I had to go like 8 miles to, this spring. I think it was like in June or July, and it was hot. I mean, we're talking like 104, 110. And so I was going down the trail, and I knew it. I thought this is so stupid, but I took off. I mean, I was in very very bad shape. I started hallucinating. I started wobbling on the trail. I didn't know where I was at times. And I was just in really, really bad shape. A tremendous headache. And I was walking down the trail, and something told me, I really, again, I'm a religious person, so I think it was the Lord that was telling me
absolutely.
to look to the left, and I looked to the left, and underneath a bush in the middle of nowhere there was a 1 gallon container of water under this bush.
Are you joking?
God being my witness, no. And so I looked at it and I thought, you got to be kidding. So, man, I did. I got the water. Now, again, a lot of people say, oh, Rev, it's just a coincidence, or maybe somebody stashed it there or whatever. I really believe that the Lord put it there. I believe it was a miracle. You know,
+1.
yeah, yeah. I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have made it if I hadn't have gotten that gallon of water. So, believe it or not, I carried the whole thing with me. I would fill it up and put it on the back of my backpack. I carried it with me for a pretty good ways, because I thought, man, this saved my life.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. And I love reading about hearing about, listening about, all the mistakes that we make.
Mhm.
And even if the endings aren't what we would want, because there's so much information to learn from them,
Yeah.
and we're getting out in the backcountry at times, away from everything, and
Mhm.
it's there's so much information, and that that maybe we don't have the experience yet, but we can, through other people's mistakes, like both of our stories, that hopefully the listeners will learn.
Right.
And it's funny, all the state parks, I go, what is one thing that people show up and don't have enough of? Water, 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 water. Are you ready for the most important question of the podcast?
I guess.
All right. This will dictate the duration and the direction of the podcast. If you get it wrong.
Okay.
So far, I've asked this question, golly, I think we're at episode 80 something right now, and probably 20 times. What is your favorite Texas hiking podcast that you've been a guest on?
Yours.
Yes, I love it. We will continue. Somebody asked me, and I don't even know the answer. Am I the only Texas hiking podcast? I'm not sure, but so far I'm the favorite of everybody. So
I've never heard of any other ones, but I've heard of yours. And I love your logo. That is a tremendous
let me
logo.
tell you how that happened real quick. So I have a friend, Todd. He's up in East Texas, Northeast Texas. He runs the Guadalupe Mountain backcountry Facebook group. And
Uh-huh.
so there's two main Facebook groups to the Guadalupe Mountains. One is kind of like the casual hiker that wants to say they did Guadalupe Peak, the highest peak in Texas, and then there's another one that's for us hikers that want to get in the backcountry, want to find all the secrets, want to connect this peak to this peak that's not trailed, and really get into the weeds of the Guads. So he runs that one, and so him and I started kind of talking, and he has a background in graphical design. And so Joe with Trekker Joe's, he's a gear company out of Austin, making the smart water bottle holders that fit on the front of your backpacks. Game changer, great piece of gear, my favorite.
Hmm.
And there's a couple of JR and Kyle. We all have this group that chatting and stuff. And so I was telling the guys, I want to start a hiking and backpacking podcast. Just it gives me an outlet to talk with
Hmm.
like-minded people, and because usually when you meet someone and they say hiking and you start talking, they like, you could see their eyes kind of roll back
Yeah.
in their head and go, is this guy going to shut up? So I started it, and I just had a picture of just me out on the trail. It was kind of the, not the logo, but it's every episode I started using that. And he just ran it. He goes, "Hey man," he goes, "check this out. Would you like this for your logo?" And at the initial one was just, the microphone with the state, the same colors. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I love it." And then he's like, "Oh, wait, let me put the wording around it." And I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome." And then he's like, "Oh, hold on, let me put the topo lines in the background of the logo." And I'm like, "Todd, like, can I pay you for this?" And he's like, "No." And so then I found, through his cell phone, I found him on one of the pay apps, and I sent him some money. And then, of course, that was a big argument. But yeah, that's how I got it. Just befriending Todd, and then doing this, and then he just on his own started creatively. So yeah, he nailed the logo. I love it. And Todd, I know you're listening, so great job.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
I thank you. All right, before we get started into the episode, I love, love, love your content. I will sit on a Saturday and just watch hours of it. I want my listeners. I don't know if you're a listener, that, and you're into hiking and backpacking, that you don't already know about the Rev and you're not already following him. But Rev, I know your content is open to the public, so can you please just share how can our listeners get connected with all the amazing things that you're doing?
I have a Facebook page, and I post pretty often. Most of it is hiking related. Some of them is a lot of it is just like family related and stuff like that, and church related. And then I have an Instagram page. Again, the same thing. It's more of a social media type thing to let people know what's going on in my life. But my main, I guess, social media uh, platform would be my YouTube channel, and it's called The Hiking Rev. And I have right now 30,900 subscribers. I am so close to 31,000. And so if you listeners out there would just go on my channel and subscribe so I can get over 31,000. So, but anyway, the reason why I, put my stuff and because yourself, it takes a long time to produce videos. Or you have to record your hikes or record your lessons or whatever you want to call them about hiking. You have to record them, then you have to go back and edit them, and then you have to upload them to YouTube. And so it takes a lot of time. But a lot of people have reached out to me and said, Rev, you don't know how much of a blessing it is to watch your channel. And I have so many older hikers that can't go backpacking, can't do it through hike and whatever. And they say, Rev, I vicariously hike through you. And so that's mainly why I do it, because there's some people that just can't do what I'm doing, and as long as I can do it, then I'll do it, and I'll post it on YouTube so people can follow it. And another thing is, I learned so much from YouTubers when I first started getting back into backpacking and through hiking and stuff like that. Dixie, from Homemade Wanderlust, Darwin, Jupiter, all these, well known, famous YouTubers, influencers, and stuff like that. I learned so much from watching them that I said, I'm going to just pay it forward. I'll just let people know what I've learned over, 30 years of backpacking, and maybe I can be a help and a blessing to somebody else. And again, I've had so many people reach out to me and say, Rev, you just don't know how much that has helped me, and I've learned so much from you. And so that's why I do it. Uh,
All right.
you know,
So to the listeners, 2 points. Let's get him over 31,000. So follow the Hiking Rev. And secondly, there's a warning. If you start following him and you start getting on those videos, you're going to be probably missing birthdays, anniversaries, because you're not going to want to put it down. That's what happened to me. You see these videos, and I know for me, like I'm 52, so I'm old, and I've learned so much from your content. What I love about it is your vulnerability, meaning that you're a real person. You're going to give the successes, the failures, there's no ego, it's just this is who I am. This is what I'm going to try to do, and then this is the journey. And I know you made a video about, and we'll get into it a little bit later, about your AT through hike, and then you you had to pause it for a bit, and
Mhm.
I even kind of got a bit of emotional watching that video of you feeling that you needed to give your subscribers and people that are
Mhm.
supporting you kind of like a reason what happened.
Mhm.
And man, to see all the comments from so many people of positivity, and like for me, I even commented like, Rev, for me it's not about the destination, it's about me watching your journey. And
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah, so to the listeners, let's get him over 31,000. And if you're, I don't know how you're not already following this content, but follow. You will not be disappointed. So thank you for that, Rev.
You're welcome.
All right, let's jump into a little introduction about you. So, how long have you been hiking and backpacking?
Uh, in 1995, I wanted to do something with my two boys who were then 9 and 11. It's for my before my daughter was born. I wanted to do something with them manly. So I said to them, I said, boys, you want to go on a hiking trip with me? And so we went to the Point Reyes National Seashore National Park. It's just north of San Francisco. And so I went online and I planned it out and everything, and we went on this trip, and it was so funny. I knew nothing about backpacking and stuff like that, but we had these old external frames. I think it was like JanSport or something, uh, packs and canvas. I think they were made of canvas, and I had this one big old tent. For a stove, I had one of those Coleman stoves that had the two burners on it. That was, the flat stove thing that like a what do you call it, like a car camping stove. Well,
Yep.
I kind of like duct taped it to the back of my youngest son's back, so he had to carry that. And then for a lantern, I had that big old Coleman lantern. Uh, my
Uh,
oldest son, he had to carry that. So I mean, it was just hilarious. And then it rained, almost the whole trip. So it was just a terrible, terrible time. But we had the best time, out in the woods, camping and stuff like that. And so I bought the boys like a pup tent and just a one man tent. And so again, we started going, hiking like once every 2 or 3 months and stuff like that, especially during the summertime when they weren't in school. And so that's basically how I got into, backpacking and camping. We went to Big Sur in California and did like a 3 day overnight backpacking trip, and just had the best time with my boys. Well, they they discovered girls, and so about that time they just kind of didn't want to hang out with dear old dad out in the woods anymore. So I took a hiatus with my hiking and backpacking trips, and so I kind of got into golf, and so I was playing golf. And then in 2015, I guess that movie Wild came out with Reese Witherspoon. I never saw the movie, but I'd heard that I was watching the Academy Awards or something like that, and they said that Wild was nominated for an Academy Award, and it was about a girl, Cheryl Strayed, that went on the PCT and her journey and stuff like that, and the Pacific Crest Trail. And so I thought, Pacific Crest Trail. And so I went on the internet, and so I Googled, Pacific Crest Trail, and I found out where it went. I said, good night, that's in my backyard. And so I did some searches on it, and so I started getting all these YouTube videos that would pop up. And so I would watch them. I thought, whoa, man, this is really interesting. And I didn't even know it existed. And so I had the craziest notion. I thought to myself, you know, I think I could do this. It always looks good and it always looks so easy on video, but boy, when you get out there, it's a whole different animal.
yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, in 2015, I started getting back into hiking and backpacking, and I started preparing to do a through hike of the Pacific Crest Trail. In 2020, I took off and started in Campo, California, on the Mexican border, and hike through. And I tell you, I love through hiking. I love doing section hikes, but I think section hikes and overnight hikes and stuff like that are kind of like preparation for through hikes. I love through hiking. I love the challenge of it. I love the logistics of getting to a trail town, resupplying, then going for like 5 more days with food and stuff like that until you get to the very end. So that's my journey into backpacking and through hiking.
So if you look at this journey, what does hiking and backpacking mean to you?
Basically a challenge. I like the idea that it keeps you in shape. Being a pastor, I was a pastor for 41 years before I retired. And, pastors really don't have a very strenuous type job. We just sit behind a desk and study and stuff like that. And so when I first started off in pastoring, man, I gained a lot of weight, and I was like 280, 290, and I'm only 5 foot. Well, I'm 5'8" now. I've shrunk. I was 5'10". But 280, 290 pounds, man, that's a lot of weight to carry. And so I thought to myself, I've got to do something. I can't keep going like this. And so I started backpacking and I started getting into exercising, stuff like that, to lose weight. And so, backpacking and through hiking and stuff like that, the exercise and getting in shape is one thing. But I think just the challenge of it is what interests me. A lot of people say, "Oh, Rev, you're doing these through hikes and you're doing 20 miles a day or you're doing 25 miles a day. You can't see everything. Well, I don't have to sit there for uh, for an hour or two and look at a mountain. You can look at it while you're hiking. And so I'm not into it basically to. Uh, I love nature. I love the nature. Uh, love to get into nature, get all that nature has for me. But I think it's more the challenge. I want to complete the Pacific Crest Trail. I want to hike all 2,200 miles of the Appalachian Trail. That's what interests me. The challenge of it.
You nailed that one, and that's the same for me. Like, I love the journey, I love the destination, but it's the challenge. And whenever I
Yes.
knock something like I had 10 highest peaks in Texas, all over 8,000 feet. A lot of them are not even trailed. So it's canyon navigation, pretty crazy stuff. Got that done. Then I'm like, okay, what's next? Then through hiking the Lone Star Hiking Trail. Okay, I did it in 5 days. I wonder if I can do it in 2 days. 96.4 miles. So that's this coming winter. It was supposed to be this past winter. Todd and I were going to do it, and it just never came about, or try to.
Mhm.
But do the 96.4 miles in 2 days. Can we do it? Let's see what happens. But yeah, it's the challenge. And if I'm not challenging myself, I'm diabetic and a whole bunch of other things, and I'm just
Mhm.
laying in bed, and so I
Yeah.
have to have that challenge to keep me out of the bed and, you know, outside and doing things. So
Right. Right.
yeah, so I get it. I get it. So if you look about not the big through hikes that you've had, but just maybe day hikes, section hikes, are you doing it with family, friends, or it's just solo?
Um, Mainly solo. To be honest with you, and I know this kind of grates on a lot of people, but I like to go by myself rather than somebody else, because when you're with a group or when you're with someone else, you're kind of at their. They may have an agenda that doesn't fit with yours. Like for example. I might want to stop someplace and they may want to hike on, or they may want to stop a place and I want to hike on. And so, you have to kind of be aware of the person that you're hiking with. But that's not to say that I don't like hiking with other people, because like, sometimes when you're doing a through hike, of course, you're meeting people on the trail and you're hiking with them for a little while, and then sometimes you're camping with them. And if you're hiking at the same speed, then of course you're going to be hiking with them. But I love to just go by myself again. you know just you and your thoughts and you and the Lord on the trail, man. I mean, I love that.
You're absolutely right, and I love going by myself. I'm on the Lone Star Hiking Trail probably every Saturday or Sunday, and it's just I need that. And
Hmm.
my wife, well, she has rules, so whether it's backpacking or hiking, she puts the limits on what I can do. So, she doesn't go a whole lot, but she goes. But yeah, there is nothing like being in the quads alone.
Yeah, yeah. My wife is not physically able to, to hike with me. She's been having some problems with her knees and things like that, and she's just not physically able to do that. And plus, our let me see, next March we will be married for 52 years. We celebrated our 50th anniversary a couple of years ago. And so, we've been together for a long time. Plus, we dated a lot. We're high school sweethearts and stuff like that. So we've been together a lot, but we're about as different as daylight and dark. She
Yep.
loves Hallmark movies and I love Marvel movies, and
Yep.
so she can't stand my Marvel movies, and I can't stand her Hallmark movies. So I go in the bedroom and I watch Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxies and stuff like that, and she comes into the living room and she watches her Hallmark movies. But you know, hiking, she loves it when I go hiking, because then she's by herself and she can, do what she wants to do, and I can do what
Yep.
I want to do.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been married 12 years, and it's nice, and then you miss them, right? Like,
Oh yeah, yeah,
a weekend trip or something, and then you come back and it's like that first date.
yeah. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what is your favorite state or national park in California, and why?
Probably the Sierras. Oh my goodness, it's just so absolutely beautiful. Now, I don't like I don't like snow and I don't like rain. So the Sierras in the summertime, when all the snow is gone or most of the snow is gone, is probably my favorite, section. I don't know what that is. Sequoia State. There's several parks and wilderness areas there. Yosemite is another, Tuolumne Meadows around in that area. It's just absolutely beautiful. The waterfalls, the alpine lakes, the granite mountains are just absolutely beautiful.
So do you have a favorite trail?
Pacific Crest Trail, probably.
Yeah. All right.
Now there's a trail, just 5 minutes from my house that, in fact, when I get off this podcast, I'm probably be going there and hiking. I try to hike about 3 times a week in this area, but there's all kinds of trails up in there, and there is some elevation. Like I'll do like a 1,000, 2,000 feet elevation gain on this hike, and I'll do like 10 miles a day or something on this trail. So I love this trail around here. I think it's called the East Bay Regional Park or something like that. Here in the East Bay of the San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay. So you don't have to give any locations or coordinates, but through all your travels, have you ever stumbled across any hidden gems or secret spots through your adventures?
No, not really. I mean, I've been to places where there hasn't been a lot of people, The Pacific Crest Trail, well, especially in 2020, it was like 1/4 of the hikers that normally do the PCT in a year because of COVID and stuff like that. And so there was not hardly very many people on the trail when I did it in 2020. But a lot of the places I go to, there's not, you know, a lot of people. But no, I tell you one trail that doesn't get a lot of love, and that is the Pinhoti Trail
Mm-hmm.
in Alabama, Georgia. I don't know if you're familiar with or your listeners are familiar with it, but I love the Pinhoti Trail. Forget the name of it's the Pinhoti Outdoor Center. There's a couple that has a hostel there, and they're real big proponents of the Pinhoti Trail. But anyway, the Pinhoti Trail is. I only saw two hikers on the 350-mile, trek of the Pinhoti Trail, and so it's. I would think that would might be a hidden gem that a lot of people aren't familiar with. But I love the Pinhoti Trail.
So, do you have any misconceptions about hiking in California that you would like to debunk? And so I'll give you an example for me about Texas. Is I always hear that hikers have to have hiking boots. I don't know what it is, but through the Facebook
Yeah.
groups and stuff, it's I've got to I need to get some hiking boots. And my question is why do you think you need hiking boots?
I got weak ankles.
Yeah, that, or I'm in West Texas. I'm like, I'm in West Texas. I live in Houston. It takes me 10 hours to get out to West Texas. I'm out there 4 or 5 times a year in the backcountry. I don't need hiking boots. And so that's something that I don't say don't buy hiking boots, but I always ask, why do you think you need them? And it's always because, because it says hiking. And that wraps up another exciting episode of the Trailblazing Texas podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode today, and stay tuned for our next episode where we will pick back up where we left off and guarantee to uncover many more hiking gems and share many more tips to enhance your experience on the trail. Until then, happy trails and happy hiking.